would you like to introduce the next
Okay,
person?
so next up we've got Threy. Threy is also a second year digital arts student, and he's coming to the end of his diploma, so I will hand you over to Threy.
All right, welcome. Introduce yourself, bud.
Well, I'm Threy Cameron, a second year digital arts student at NorthTec, and yeah, brief introduction.
So, was it digital student, did you say? Or?
Yeah, digital student.
So what sort of work do you do?
Well, at the moment we do a lot where it's concerned with video editing, a lot of the Adobe Premiere products such as Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, all those general things, so that we've got a vast array of knowledge that we can draw upon when we potentially go for a job in the future. And
so this you're talking about film editing,
yeah.
And does that incorporate sound editing as well, or is that a different thing?
Sound editing is in the same sort of bubble as it, but at the moment that's a little advanced for the stuff that I can do. I've got a few friends at NorthTec that specify in sound editing and video editing, but for me it's not in my field of interest, I guess, much.
So you're looking at live action, or are you looking at animated editing for video, or are you looking at commercial business type things, or were you looking at just like teaser type material, or what is that you want to get into?
If I had to complete my dream job, that would probably be to eventually work at Weta Studios as a conceptual design artist. So that would be primarily creating environment designs for movies, TVs, games, anything that they need me to create.
Sure.
There are a lot of people that also go into the area of creature and character design. So character design is like the main character of a movie or game. Creature design is more, for example, Godzilla. He was the main protagonist in the Godzilla franchise for obvious reasons. And he's a godlike creature that would have taken a hell of a long time to design, as well as I had a look behind the scenes at Weta Workshop when they were designing him, and they took a few, not sure what you would call it, leisurely things that they changed towards him, whereas in the previous versions where it was mainly focused all around Japan, and that they sort of brought it over to America, and they actually gave him gills, which was, I thought it would have been obvious that he would have already had gills, but apparently not. He just held his breath for a really long time when he was living underwater somehow. I'm not sure how that worked, but apparently it did.
That's quite interesting. I mean, like, that's the thing about concept design, where you take something that's already original and you add on to that. So you're looking at actually digital design in concept, or you're talking about actual pen and paper and then doing the background side of things?
Well, when it comes to conceptual design, for example, it's all about how much you can produce quality work and your output, essentially. That's what it's all about. Whereas I've read a few books on some artists that currently work at Weta Studio or have done there in the past, and they did work with pen and paper, although their output was incredibly quick compared to the materials that they worked with, whereas I prefer digital at the moment. I'm still in training or learning on my own time, as well as at NorthTec. But it's all about you produce quality work consistently and within the time frames, and that's how you can get a good reputation. You get more work in the future, you promote yourself, and you become more successful over time.
That reminds me of Stephen B. Jones. I talked to him in the weekend over at, I spent about almost an hour and a half. This is a guy who actually did the character designs for Batman Beyond, who was at Armageddon. And he said that when he was 16 years old, had an idea for a script. And what they did was, him and his mate, Jeff Johnson, who's the artist for Marvel Comics, and they were both there, and they're talking about at 16 years old being paid $7 per script, which took them almost all day to do, a cartoon strip for the newspaper. So they went up, and for a couple of years they did that. And they said that, like, when Steve was saying that when he actually when Jeff got a job at Marvel, he didn't have a job, and he wanted to go into acting. And then because he had done all this work with Jeff, he was able to finish Jeff's work at Marvel when he got behind. And so when people at Marvel, they wanted to bring someone else on, they said, hey, Jeff goes, hey, I've got a mate who's been working with me all the time. And I go, well, who's that? Well, Steve. Steve's been doing all this finishing for me. And so what he said was, when Steve went to Marvel, they said, look, we want to hire you because you're consistently on time. And that thing, what you're talking about here, is actually producing things consistently on time is very important. And a lot of people don't realize, and we were talking about that earlier, about meeting of deadlines and projects. When you go to work for huge companies, or even smaller companies, they have a deadline. And if deadlines are not met, I was talking earlier about Star Wars, where if it's not met, they'll close it down. Star Wars basically was going to be dead, was dead in the water, was going to be dead. In 78, they weren't even. The studio basically said, "Look, you guys are behind the schedule, and we're just going to close this down." Halfway towards finishing the movie,